Welcome to FailSafe-ERA's Stories from the Other Side, where we take a deep dive into real stories, powerful conversations, and the critical importance of second chances. Here's a reality check. Over 90% of people currently incarcerated are coming home. The question is, what are you doing about it? Join us as we challenge perceptions, as we spark dialogue, as we inspire action. Because at FailSafe-ERA, everyone deserves a second chance and the opportunity to rewrite their story. And it starts with us. Welcome to Stories from the Other Side. My name is Juanita Shanks, and I'm the CEO and founder of FailSafe-ERA, where we provide resources, opportunities, support to families that have been impacted by incarceration. I am so pleased to have with me today, joining me is Mr. Rob Marcus of Blue Stallion. Rob is one of our partners. He's one of our sponsors for this wonderful podcast, Stories from the Other Side. And Rob is one of our presenters for our PGI Conference. Thank you, Rob, for taking some time out with me today to talk with me.
Thank you for having me.
And especially in your space.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited.
So we're going to have fun. We're going to have some fun, right? So, Rob, can we just kind of start off with maybe we need to tell people who is Blue Stallion? That's typically how I start my podcast.
Yeah.
I say, how did you get to where you are? So how did we get to Blue Stallion?
Well, that's an interesting story. We got to Blue Stallion. So Blue Stallion is a leadership development company here in Fredericksburg, Virginia. We operate nationally, even worldwide if the opportunity is there. And, you know, we transform leaders and organizations. We got here because over the course of my career, leadership has been an issue.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, and I don't believe, you know, as a leader and as a former trainer, curriculum developer, I believe that there's a better way to teach leaders and leadership and grow the capacity for organizations and their growth through better leadership. And, you know, better leadership can do a lot for both people and organizations.
Absolutely.
So that's what we do. That's part of the reason why we're here. At the end of the day, in 2023, I had some crazy events, personal events. You know, my mom went into the hospital. Ended up with 2 stage 4 cancers we didn't know she had.
Wow.
Spent 6 weeks fighting with her. And so, you know, once she ended up passing away.
So sorry.
Oh, thank you. It's unfortunately, it's part of life. 8 days later, though, my 14-year-old daughter passed away at her mom's house.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So that was a crazy shot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's you know, it takes an amazingly strong person to be able to walk through that and still stand strong.
Well, unfortunately, you know, some issues and challenges with my company at the time occurred out of that, and it was a reawakening, re-enlightenment for me thereafter. And I think that, you know, I've been a student of leadership for a long time, and when all those events occurred at one time, it was a catalyst for me for change. And it's not I started Blue Stallion to use my experience and capabilities for everybody else, because that's the bigger problem for me. If these things happen to me as a senior executive in an organization, can you imagine what's happening to people out there. And,
Actually, I can imagine it. It's unfortunate.
it's bad.
But it's good that we have people like you
Right.
who see these things and are making a difference.
Yeah.
Are teaching, helping us how to become a better leader.
Yeah.
Are there any perfect leaders, though?
No, never.
No.
You never be perfect, right? People, and I say this all the time, it's not about being perfect, it's about showing up.
How about that?
Yeah.
Just show up.
Yeah. People
Yeah.
want authentic leaders. They're not looking for perfect. So,
And a leader, I think, I can't remember who said this, but you will know how good of a leader you are by how many people are following,
yeah.
Or how many dead bodies are following.
Right. Yeah.
But here's my question. Where did you get the name Blue Stallion?
So, I've always loved horses, but I've never owned one.
Okay.
I also am a fan of Ford Mustang cars.
Aha.
And so, the power, the wisdom, the freedom of the Stallion, coupled with the love for the cars, which mine is blue. I have a blue Ford Mustang, so that's where the blue came from. And
Makes sense to me.
Yep, and we merged the two and created Blue Stallion. And as we worked through it, it just became fitting for what we were doing.
Yeah.
So I think it matches very well. I think it's very strong, and I hope that it's a brand and an organization and frankly a movement that people can get behind.
I'm behind you. And I will tell you, you guys do great work. I'm excited about, participating in the leadership game that helped our organization.
Good.
You have no idea what you did for our team through this training because it gave everybody a voice and an opportunity to understand where they stood on the leadership rank
Right.
and how much more growing that we still need to do.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that a lot. I really do. That was really great. And this is not something we really have in this community.
No.
This is I've only been in the community 23 years, but for someone to have I don't know, what do you call it, like a leadership institution?
Right.
What do you?
Yeah. So, we call it a development center. So we have our facility here, and we've got our own training room where we can host. We've got meeting rooms, and obviously we have this recording studio. And so the goal with that is to have a professional but comfortable place for people to come in that's built for growth.
Great.
And we are 100% all about professional leadership growth.
You know what I love what you said about that, all about growth, because one would ask, okay, so you know what we do. We work with returning citizens, individuals that's been impacted by incarceration. We all can use growth. But when we're talking about our clients, what do you see? How do you see yourself helping our clients? And I appreciate, the opportunity to work with you, to work with them. But how do you see how you might be able to help as they are transitioning from jail and or prison into the community to become a better person?
Yeah.
How do you see yourself helping our clients, what some people may say, this group of individuals?
Yeah, so I think that we have come to realize, so first of all, when I first saw the mission of FailSafe, it was something that I hadn't admittedly thought about much. and I think that there's a lot of people that fall into that same trap.
Oh, yeah.
We know that folks are in jail. We know that folks get out of jail, but we never talk about or think about the fact that they come out. We see it in movies, and that's the extent of our what we pay attention to is definitely not the extent of our experience with it. We just don't think about it.
Yeah.
And, as we got to talking and working through things, we realized that there's the potential that we might be able to be the next step for them.
Yeah.
I suspect that in hearing them, many of these individuals that are coming back into society have, for one thing, they have a vast amount of experience.
Yes, they do.
And these experiences are very important. And I think that they're coming out and not only should they have the opportunity to reintegrate, but I think it's an amazing platform to build leadership.
Come on, absolutely.
And I think that they will find, many of them will find their purpose in the calling to be leaders in the community and give back and use that experience that's turned into wisdom.
Yes, sir.
To help others not make those mistakes.
Absolutely.
So,
they have a lot of skills. When I think about it, I was sharing with one of the guys who, when you think about just even a person who was a drug dealer, they have some skills. They have marketing skills. They have leadership skills, financial management. And so to turn that, and what I say to the guys and the gals, and especially when I'm facilitating the classes at the jail, is they just need to change the product, keep the hustle, but change the product.
Yeah.
And they will be successful.
right.
And so I appreciate what you're doing, and especially working with our agents of change.
Yes.
Because these are the guys and gals that have gone through some portions of our program. They have met the requirements, and they have been inducted into our Hall of Change. Yeah. They are now agents of change. They're ready to attack the world, just to come into the world and be treated like you and me.
Yes.
Just the understanding that we still need professional development. Yeah. We still need growth training. So they need to have the same treatment. They need to get the same thing. So I truly do appreciate that. So I want to move on to another topic. Sure. I want to talk about, and I brought my little my little paper here. So we have coming up on June 20th, our PGI Conference, Preventing Generations of Incarceration Conference. The theme is Community First, Bridging Generations, Building Support. Bottom line is that we need to prevent generations of incarceration. And that is going to require all of us, to be honest. So on our agenda, and we do this every year, and it's especially geared towards counselors, educators, leaders in the communities, those individuals who do impact the especially the youth in our school system. Yeah. And so we want to make sure that the providers or the presenters at our conference are not only providing what we feel like our participants need, but also for them. They learn from the participants. Yeah. Because a lot of the participants, the question that they may have is going to help them as they continue to build their training programs or whatever it is. But I'm excited. I'm excited because we have a great agenda on June 20th, 2025. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Neurodiversity, ACEs, which advanced childhood experiences, vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue, so on and so forth. All this information is on our website. But I really want to talk about you right now. So, of course, right? I want to talk about your afternoon presentation where you're going to be talking about becoming a person of influence. Ooh, is right. Who are we going to influence?
Yeah, right? So here's the thing about that. We talk about becoming a person of influence. I think what everybody's going to realize, if they haven't already, is that they already are a person of influence. So that's not the true question that we're going to unwrap. The question is, how do you do it better? How do you be better? How do you influence in a positive direction? Yeah. How do you lead others in a positive direction? How do we break the cycle? It's funny, I've been having conversations lately, and the term old school leader came up. And
what is an old school leader?
I'll tell you, I don't know that it has a place anymore.
It does not, but I think we need to bring it back.
Well, I think that we need
some of it.
I think that we need structure.
Yes.
Right? But I think that we need more education and training and development on how to deal with people and actually lead. And I do think that old school leaders who are not necessarily students of leadership will start to realize over time here that these principles, many of those principles of old school leadership have been outdated for a long time. But more so now because people are changing very rapidly today.
So we have to be able to keep
and
up.
we have to keep up, and we have to pay attention. People think different. They react different. They do things differently.
Yes, they do.
And that we have to figure out how to keep up with it and embrace that as a commodity, not a threat. And so we're going to talk about some of that as well.
That's interesting because, you do have a lot of us old school thinkers who feel that that's what happened.
Right.
We've changed. We've allowed the new way in.
Yeah.
And so now that we've allowed the new way of thinking in, we've lost control.
And control. Ooh. That's a double-edged sword too, isn't it? I
know it is, but who should be in control?
Yeah. Well, we can't be in control of ourselves. That's the problem. And as just as part of leadership in general, one of the things that us as humans are just not good at is self-accountability. Yeah. Right?
Because we're okay.
Yeah.
We feel like we're okay.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you can't tell me. Yeah. I know. I'm good. I'm okay.
Right.
But when you talk about at this conference and we're talking about becoming a person of influence, when we're and we'll have some conversations about the youth today. We're already out here. We're sounding the alarm on youth violence. How do you influence counselors and educators? How do you help them to understand that they are the influencers in these youth in their lives? They are, in some cases, probably the only accountable adult for them. So what would you say to these counselors and educators? What would you say to them, how they would, I don't want to say change the mind of the kids, but change the mindsets of these youth? How do they shift? What must they do in the education system, you think, to shift that mindset of the youth today? So, as you know, and we've been in meetings together about this as we try to tackle this situation here at home, in our own community. It's a complex problem, but no one side can work through this on their own. And I've got a school-age child in middle school, and we've worked through issues with the school, and it's always worked better when we all come together. Yeah. But we have to get together. Yeah. And that's where part of it starts. Now, just getting everybody together. It's difficult because things as simple as, the economy the way it is, the dollar not stretching as far as it was, folks having to work, 2 household incomes and having jobs and the whole back to work thing. And so it's harder and harder for parents to potentially get to the school or be involved and all those types of things. But I think that step number one is we all have to get together to talk about the hard problems, right? We all have to be in the same room. Yeah. Not necessarily with the kids at first. It needs to be the parents, the educators, the police, everybody who has a stake in that game needs to be together. But the next step is to get together everybody with the kids. I agree, but I'm wondering, sometimes I ask, who's influencing who? Well, I think that's a challenge. We talked about some of that. And the challenge that you have is, frankly, the technology that they've got in their hand. Yeah. And the reality is that, what kids used to come to their parents for, they go to ChatGPT for. Or Google. Well, no, I guess we go to Google, they go to Chat. Yeah, right. Chat looks at Google for you, right? So this is the evolution of technology. Look, technology didn't used to advance as fast as it does today. Yeah, and we are running rampant out here right now. Can't keep up. No, and that's the thing. So these children
are growing up in an era that none of us understand.
Yeah.
And we just scratched the surface.
And you know what else? We have to go to them sometimes.
Of course we do.
To help us to understand
Yep.
the technology.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. And they live it and breathe it. What we use as a tool, they use as a part of their daily life.
Yeah. So they know.
Yeah. So you can't influence an issue that you don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it is different for these kids in school. Just talking to my son recently, we've been going through some things with him, and it took a little bit for me to wake up and realize that when you really think about it hard, you think about what society looks like today, how the kids behave today, how they react to things today, how they use this device that's in their hand 24/7 today. It is different than it was.
Who allows those things to happen? Who should be, if you think about it, do we as parents give in to their needs or wants, I should say, not needs, wants? So did we as parents give in to the wants? I know that when I was a kid, and I get it, cell phones didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I think that even if they did, I don't believe I would have been able to have one. I think my parents would have said, no, you don't need a cell phone at this age.
Yeah. I said no for a long time.
Yeah.
We made it to 12.
Oh, boy.
And we went 3 to 4 years of fighting that fight because all the other kids already had one much earlier. I don't think that we solve the problem by going back in time and trying to address another problem that we're not going to be able to fix, which is society is where it is. The phones are a thing.
I totally agree.
So I think what we need to do is figure out how we best influence the kids to use it for positive means, vice negative means.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that even through this sounding the alarm, I'm hoping that we'll be able to do a little of that, come up with some ideas. There's something that we can do. I say there's absolutely no way that this little person, these little people, should be controlling us, the community, the society, the way that they are.
Yeah.
That should not happen.
I do think that there's a gap. Depending on how much you're able to spend time with your child, and sometimes that's an issue.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a gap. But I also think that there's a mindset shift for us adults that we have to stop clinging to the past and how it was when we were there. Not get away from the structure. There has to be structure, and frankly, children do better in structure.
They do, and I believe we've lost a lot of that.
And we have lost a lot of that. But if we can't change, how do we expect them to change? And if we can't listen, how do we expect them to listen? And I think that that's where we've got to get better at understanding what they're really going through. Many of these kids have events that occur in school that they don't talk about at home anymore.
Yeah, but you have to wonder why.
Well, because that's where it's become. When I went to high school, we got into fights with our fists.
Yeah.
And it was starting to become a thing where you might have to worry about a knife.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about guns.
There you go. I was going to say there's so much fear. There's so much fear. So, Rob, when you, in your presentation at the conference in June, as you're talking about addressing becoming a person of influence, how are you, what was your presentation going to be like? So, for example, we have counselors here, we have educators here, we're going to have leaders of the communities, we're probably going to have some parents there at the conference. And so how would you say that, how does let me see if I can get this so that I can understand what I'm saying. So what I think where I'm going with this is right now it may seem to everybody that nobody's influencing anybody. You know, the adults, I should say. The kids are doing the influencing. We have, unfortunately, so much violence in our communities, in our schools. So what do we say to these professionals? What must you do differently to start influencing the students in a positive way? What would you say to them? How do you turn this around?
Yeah. So I think that we need to look at that a little bit closer, and that's part of why I was asking you who you expect the audience to be, right?
Yeah.
So part of this is I don't think that we have enough programs in the schools to teach values. School, the amount of time spent at school, it can't just be about the education. It has to be an experience, and it has to also include values.
Oh, come on! I'm so glad
so
you said that.
I don't, and I had it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, but I don't think they have it anymore, and I think that we need to figure out how to get that back.
I am so glad you said that. That is perfect. I facilitate a class at the jail, and yesterday our topic is social values, and so yesterday we were talking about how do you let your behavior dictate your values,
Right.
or your values dictate your behavior.
Yeah.
And I think what we've done is we have allowed our behaviors to dictate our values. And where are the morals and values? Who's teaching that now? And of course, we know it starts at home.
Right.
But don't we continue this into education, in the school system?
Yeah. Here's the thing. We say it starts at home. What does home life look like for most kids today?
Yeah. So where do they learn it from?
You know, the whole pointing fingers thing, you know, is it the parents? Is it the educators? Is it this? Is it that? It's all of us.
I think I was going to say we need to stop that.
It's all of us.
We're going to have to stop that.
Which is why we need to get in a room together and have the hard discussions that nobody wants to deal with. Right? And we all have to take some of that responsibility on ourselves and figure it out. Now, here's the thing. Home life looks different for children today. The nuclear family that used to exist often isn't there. Divorce is common today.
Yeah.
You know, the way the parental relationships and things, the ins, the outs of different people of influence, right, for better or worse, looks different today. So, again, we come back to old school. We're so ingrained in this thinking. It's like we have conversations based off of what we experienced at a time that was so different than it is now.
Yeah, we have to stop saying this is how it used to be.
We have to stop.
Yeah, no, I agree.
To stop.
I agree.
And by the way, that's the first thing that shuts down my son if I say that.
Yeah, this is how I used to be. Well, when I was growing up, this is how we used to do things. Oh, you haven't been through anything yet.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But we have to acknowledge that it is different today for them. The environments are different. Society is different. The technology is one part of it that's different.
And it's their reality.
And school then has to be different.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out where the slack and tension is, right? And ease some tension here, but get more slack here. We have to work through all of that together, and it can only happen together.
In a community.
Yes.
It is going to. I say this so many times when I think about, you know, when I share the work that we do in FailSafe, and I tell people that 98% are coming home into our communities. I'm doing my part. What are you going to do? Community, they're coming home.
Right.
Our youth, this is our future. And so if we don't all get on board together as a community to influence their behaviors to become more positive, to help them, to guide them, to help them to understand, then we're losing our future.
How many speaking engagements at the local schools are your Agents of Change booked for?
Not enough.
That should be constant. It should be a regular program.
Yeah.
Right? They
Well,
should hear
you're going to
these
help
stories.
us with that.
Absolutely.
Because if you can help us get them trained up
Yes.
and, in personal and professional development growth. And because as they were coming through the incarceration process, there were some changes that they had to make. There are some growing pains that they had to go through.
Yeah.
And if we who have not gone through that and recognize that we still need, again, I know I mentioned this earlier, professional development, personal development, training, opportunities, they need that as well. And when they get that, I think that in most cases, they might be the best persons to go into the schools.
Of course they are.
People who have lived experience.
You have to build trust, right? And who are the children going to trust? They're going to build trust with those folks who are closer to where they're at.
Yes.
Right? We talk about meeting people where they're at and taking them where they want or need to go. Well, that's an example of that. I can come in, I'm better suited to hit them early and start teaching them leadership values at an early age before they have seen the world for what maybe it really is. And ingrain those values in them. But me coming to somebody who's 17 years old,
they're not ready to hear that.
Getting influenced by all these bad influences and everything, they're not listening to me.
No, but you know what? You make a good point. You make a valid point. Maybe you should be in the schools.
Well, we should.
You know what? Because seriously, if you think about leadership begins with leading you.
Yes.
Right. So we have to teach these kids how to lead themselves and not to become a follower.
Yeah. Yeah. But the impact and I think we've got to split it up in stages, right? Because at one of the meetings I talked about, if you want, you've got to head it off at the pass before it becomes a problem so that you stop the problems from being created, right? So if we intersect it early, that's the best time to start building the values.
Yeah.
The others still need the values, but how you approach them, and they're in the swirl. And the best people, in my opinion, to pull them out of that swirl, they have to get out to learn the values.
Yeah.
But the best people to pull them out of that can make an immediate impact on their psychology and say, don't do it. Let me tell you why, because I just came out of there. Right?
Those are the best people.
Those are the people that have to engage where there's a problem.
Yes.
Once they've engaged and they've started to adjust that mindset, now you can open those kids back up and bring them back and start with the values and really start building them up. But
that's why this is going to be really good at this conference, because these are the types of conversations that we need to be having.
Absolutely.
We need to stop pointing fingers,
right,
and then just talk about how do we come together and fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, how long we've been pointing fingers. It's gotten us a long way.
Absolutely not.
Right.
And so this is what we need to do. So I really do appreciate your coming and speaking at the conference. And I'm excited about it because I know that, and I intentionally let this be the kind of the afternoon keynote session, the kind of almost the final going out, because now you've heard all of these things. You've heard about, what are some good models or effective treatment models for children and adolescents, understanding how to deal with stress and how to manage in a culturally sensitive, trauma responsive care in schools. Right. But okay, we've learned all of these great things, all of these trauma informed cares, and all these, what do you call it? Whatever. But the bottom line is, how do we wrap it up and put it into a nice, neat, tiny bow?
Right.
We become people of influence.
Yeah. And take it forward.
Absolutely. So this is key. This is awesome. I just appreciate you saying yes, not only to speak at the conference, but also taking on the challenge of helping us with our Agents of Change. and helping them to grow. And oh, by the way, helping our organization. You're just helping us in many ways, but I appreciate it because to me, it is very important that as we are building, we're always getting better, but we're building leaders, and I want to make sure we're building good leaders.
Yes.
And leaders who are going to become people of influence, leaders who do recognize that that there are some areas where they may need some growth. Always. And that we are not going to be the perfect leaders, but we can become as good as we can become.
Yeah.
And we want to be the best that we can be.
It's a journey that doesn't have a final destination.
Absolutely. Right. It's a constant.
Yeah.
And so that's okay. I'm looking forward to it. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing about Blue Stallion. I'm excited. And I don't think enough people hear about Blue Stallion enough.
Well, yet. They're going to more and more and more.
Yeah. Well, you come to the conference, you'll hear about Blue Stallion.
Yeah.
And all that Blue Stallion has to offer. And then there's the other thing that a lot of some of the other works that you all are doing here at Blue Stallion. So you have your podcast. Mm-hmm. So is that open to the community, or is just something that you do?
Yeah. So, we're happy to, first of all, we love visitors. We like people coming in and sitting down and talking and see how we can add value. Good. We have this studio. Our premise here is, we've put together the facility because it's all stuff that we need for Blue Stallion, but we're not in these rooms 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we look for ways to help the community that have needs that match what we can provide. So, the training room, the podcast studio. If you're in need of a conference room, we have that too. Awesome. But we're always happy to talk and figure out how we can help and add value to our partners, our customers, and our community.
Awesome. And I will tell you that everybody needs what you have. We all need skills. We all need training in how to become a better leader. Yeah. So I do really appreciate you again here at Blue Stallion. I thank you for the time that you have taken to talk with me today, to talk about the conference. I would just ask if there's anything that you would like to leave with our audience about what you're going to be sharing at the conference, that if you would just kind of take that time now.
Sure.
As to why they should come to this conference because of what you're going to be sharing.
Yeah, so you've heard we're going to be talking about some hard topics at this conference, and this is all geared towards how we improve our communities and the world around us. So if you're ready to have an open mind and have that hard talk, by all means, you should probably attend and be there. And we talk often, Juanita and I, about the fact that everything affects us in our community, and so we're a part of it, and we are already people of influence. So the question is, how are you influencing? And that's something that we often don't think about, right? We get into a bad mood or whatever. How are you going to influence, and how are you a part of the solution? Because if you're not part of the solution, chances are you're part of the problem.
How about that? Yes. So absolutely, I love that, and I would even add on to that when we're talking about people of influence, we have to influence our clients to make good decisions.
Yes.
To make better decisions, to change their mindset. So it's all about, in my opinion, it's all about who you're influencing, how you're influencing, what is the outcome that we want to get.
Yeah.
And so for me, in my community, we want a safer, healthier community of individuals. And so we all can become a person of influence. So I recommend that anybody sign up, not only for this conference, but also for training at Blue Stallion, because this is just one of the topics that you teach, but there are so many more. How would we find Blue Stallion?
So our website's www.bluestallionsolutions.com. You can find us there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just about anything, you'll find us. Just do it. Put us in the search.
You did that well. I used to. I try to practice. Follow us on Facebook. Like us on Twitter. Oh, well, that is X. I just give up on doing that anymore. But anyway, so again, thank you for joining us on Stories from the Other Side. Thank you, Rob Marcus, Blue Stallion. Thank you for this opportunity to come out and share about our PGI Conference coming up June 20th, 2025. You can find more information on our website at FailSafe-ERA.org. And you can also, just on our website, learn more about who we are and what we are doing. Welcome, 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 and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
So
for
I
having
opened
me.
and I closed it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the Other Side. Change does not happen by chance. It happens because we make it. Second chances aren't just about those coming home. They're about the future of our communities. Get involved, speak up, take action. Our communities are counting on it. Until the next time, be the difference. FailSafe-ERA Stories from the Other Side are sponsored by...
One of the things that keeps great leaders up at night is how to take a solid team and make them better. Well, we can help you figure all that out. Learn as a team, grow as a team, and have fun doing it. At Blue Stallion Solutions, we meet you where you're at and we take you where you want to go. Blue Stallion Solutions isn't just a company, it's a movement. Ride with us today.